Mom, I think I'm going to be home later than usual today. One day, I told my mom. My mom was sitting in front of me, biting into a slice of bread. Oh, really? Are you going to hang out with your colleagues at work? She asked me. Well, no. I was a little hesitant to tell her, and she began to question me. What? Speak up. My mom was strict, and I was never able to hide anything from her. I was thinking about getting a new card case. I'll stop by the department store. Sure enough, when my mom heard what I said, she said, A business card case? You just bought one recently. Did it get damaged already? She was right. I graduated from high school and started working this fall. When I got the job, I got a business card case instead of business tools. When I just bought a cheap suit on sale at a men's clothing store, and my bag and shoes were like that too. And my business card case was from a $1 store. I wasn't particularly concerned with accessories or fashion, and I assumed that was enough for me. The business card case was so ordinary looking that if I hadn't said it was $1, no one would have noticed. But my boss said something. He added that if I used a cheap one, my clients would underestimate me, so I should use a high-quality one. He said I shouldn't get a $1 business card case. I explained to my mom why I had decided to get another business card case. Well, I guess I knew what she'd say. What are you talking about? You don't have to listen to what your boss says. It's not like you're using a shabby one with a hole in it. Are you saying you are causing problems to others because you are using cheap stuff? If you're going to spend all that money, do it for the benefit of others. Mom was never a cheapskate. She's been saying this to me since I was a child. But even if it was a toy, if it was something I really wanted, she would buy it for me. However, if the reason was unclear and not founded on my desire, such as wanting it because my friends had it, or it was a trendy item, she would dismiss it as unimportant and refuse to buy it for me. Yes, my mom is a person who cares about money very much. She would not be convinced by any of my arguments. I, who was raised by her, felt the same way. Therefore, I couldn't persuade her either. I get it. Then I'm not going to buy a new business card case. With that, I went to work as usual. Hey, Joseph, I heard you're going to buy a new business card case today. The guy who talked to me was my boss, David. He graduated from college 3 years ago and trained me as a new employee. He was the very person who told me to buy a business card case. Oh, in the end, I decided not to. Then David looked surprised. What? How come? Are you going to keep using that lame business card case? He replied. Yeah, well, I just got it, and it would be a waste not to use it. When I replied, David chuckled and said, It would be a waste not to use it? Is your house that poor, Joseph? I was thinking that I could smell poverty in every word you say. He started mocking me. Huh? What are you talking about? I just laughed it off. But to be honest, David's jokes were not funny at all. This was not the only time he made fun of me. He mocked me not only about my appearance, for example, being short or plain, but also about my financial status. I wanted to buy a new business card case so he wouldn't treat me like that. But the fact is, I didn't really want one. And after listening to Mom, I didn't even feel like buying one because David told me. The most nasty aspect of David's sarcasm towards me was his remarks about my family. I don't usually talk to strangers about my upbringing. But at a drinking party of my colleagues, I got a little drunk and told the whole story. I realized David was aware of it, and he began to sarcastically talking about it with me. That is, I was raised by my stepmother after my real parents died. Yes, the mom I now live with is the one my father remarried. My real mom was frail and died when she gave birth to me. My father raised me by himself until I was 8 years old. He remarried my mom, who was his childhood friend, and the three of us began to live together. It was the first time for me to live with my mom. I was nervous at first, but Mom has treated me with the same strictness and warmth since the beginning of our family. Because of this, I believe that my mom and I formed a bond that is as close to a real parent-child relationship as I could ever hope to have. Life with the three of us was a lot of fun, but it didn't last long. When I was in high school, my father became ill and passed away. I was sad, of course, and didn't get over it right away. But I never once thought I was unhappy or miserable about my upbringing. The time of separation came early, but I was sure that I was still blessed with a family. Now that I live alone with my mother, she has become even more strict. She was really strict with me, especially when it came to money. I believe I knew a lot about how to spend and use money as a high school student. As a result, after graduating from high school, I decided to acquire a job so that I could start handling money as soon as possible in the workforce. While my classmates were enjoying their college days, I was urgently attempting to learn how to work. Sometimes I envied my friends, but I had no regrets about the path I chose. In the long run, I believe that my mom taught me how to make myself and my loved ones happy. But David didn't seem to think so.
Joseph, you must have gone through a lot. People who are born into less fortunate situations, what do they hope for in life? I'm sorry that high school grads are underpaid for the same task as college graduates. Well, I guess there is nothing you could do because you were raised in a fatherless family.
He assumed I was miserable and made sarcastic remarks like this. It was not true, so I let him say whatever he wanted. But even though, I couldn't help but feel frustrated inside. Such were the days. Then, in October, I received my first salary. I had decided in advance what I was going to do with the money. That was to take my mom out to dinner. I'd never earned a salary on my own before because I dedicated my entire life to studies and participating in club activities when I was in school. I wanted to use the money for my mom, who had raised me all these years. Of course. Don't spend the money on me. Instead, save it for an important occasion. That's what my mom told me. But I knew she would say that. I told her all the reasons I wanted to treat her. And somehow she understood. Really? This is the first and last time you'll treat me, okay? With that, she accepted my invitation. I've eaten a lot of meals with the money she's earned so far. I was a little embarrassed to treat her for the first time, but I was very, very happy. I chose a high-class restaurant that had a high word-of-mouth rating on the internet. When I arrived at the front of the restaurant, "Are you kidding me? This place looks so expensive." She was surprised, but I told her, "You said that this would be the first and the last time, right? So it's gotta be this good to express my gratitude for all you've done for me." I didn't want it to be the last time, but I said it to convince my mom. I think she seemed happy. When we entered the restaurant, we were taken to a private room and were served a creative Japanese course meal. The food tasted and looked amazing, and of course, it was my first time to experience it. Seeing my mom's delighted expression made me happy too. And just as we were about to finish dessert, I left the private room to go to the restroom. Then, I ran into someone I didn't expect to see there.
"Hey, is that you, Joseph?"
"Huh? David?" I never thought I would run into a sarcastic boss in a place like this. But it was not like I was doing anything wrong. Trying not to get too involved, I bailed and was about to walk past him then.
"Don't you think a poor young man like you, Joseph, would be out of place in such an upscale restaurant?"
David laughed when he said that. The fact that he stated it in a funny tone with a smile on his face made me believe he was a nasty guy. That's what I thought. I only wished I could tell him that. Oh, that's mean, David. I got my first paycheck, so I thought I'd treat my mom, so I stretched myself quite a bit. I smiled and said something like that. I felt disgusted with myself for continuing to smile after being insulted.
You've stretched yourself too much, I guess. You're only making things tougher on yourself by doing things that aren't appropriate for your stature, so stop it. I have no idea how you got into our company, which has a high level to begin with. Anyway, just to let you know, expecting a raise or a promotion is futile. It's impossible for a miserable person like you who uses a $1 business card case to stand above others. Who would want to follow someone like you?
But many thoughts sprang to me, but I couldn't express them effectively. I wondered if it was so important to surround yourself with luxury goods. I was trying to achieve success in my own way. Was that so strange? I couldn't say anything, and David said,
See, you can't even talk back to me. You're better off at a food joint in the neighborhood. A poor single-parent family should just get the hell out of here.
He smirked. At that moment, You appear to be confident in yourself, but may I ask how good a person you are? I heard my mom's voice from the back of the room where I came out. Oh, Mom. When I said that, David smirked and replied,
Well, let me see. I was born to parents who are both very proud of me, and I went to a prestigious school from kindergarten to college. I was a high achiever who served as president of the student council and was even requested to teach new employees at my current job. At the very least, my environment is so different from yours that I can't even compare myself to Joseph.
Seeing David reply with a smug look on his face, I thought that he must have a lot of confidence in himself. But shortly after that, my mother shattered his confidence. You are even more amazing than I imagined. I am very surprised. Despite her words, she had the coldest expression on her face that I had never seen. I was surprised by that. But David couldn't see her face. He looked as if he felt good by her comment.
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm a blessed man,
he replied. And then, I think you misunderstand me. I said you're amazing because you're so irredeemably wrong. My mom said clearly.
Huh? I'm afraid I don't get you. Are you crying sour grapes?
As soon as David, who was still smiling wryly, replied, my mom came out of the private room. Then, David saw my mom and looked astonished. His jaw was trembling.
No way. Are you?
Even a pampered boy like you, who can't see what's going on around him, recognizes my face. No wonder David was surprised. My mom was the largest shareholder of our company and the person with the highest authority.
But why?
She continued to talk to David, who was unable to hide his surprise. You've told me how you're talented, but I'm wondering whether you're aware that all you have is what your parents provided you and something superficial. How many times in your life have you made your own choices and acted on your own volition? Wearing nice things is very valuable for some people, but assuming that it is the same for everyone is a sign of narrow-mindedness. There are people in the world that have diverse values, and what they consider to be good is unique to each of them. Who would want to follow someone who doesn't understand that and who forces his/her ideas on others? You should think more about your humanity instead of looking down on your subordinates based on their appearance or their background. Actually, the company I work for belonged to my grandfather, my mom's father. After he passed away a few years ago, she was the largest shareholder. However, as you can see from my mom's strictness, it was not because I'm her son that I was able to get into the company through connections. I wanted to work for this company because I was watching it most closely as her son. In order to make that happen, I did a lot of study and volunteer activities during high school and decided to join the company on my own. Although I claim to have taken the decision on my own, as a high school student, I relied heavily on my mother's backing. But, in any case, this was the first time I'd seen my mom lecturing to anyone. She was able to tell David what was bothering me, something I couldn't express adequately. I want to be a member of society who can express my feelings in words when the right time comes. It was an incident that made me think so from the bottom of my heart. After that, David didn't seem to have any words to say back to me and ran away. "Thank you, Mom," I said to her as I returned to the private room, and she said, "No, I'm rather sorry for being so nosy. But what I just told him is something you should remember. Wearing luxurious items can make anyone feel bigger and more assured. But that's just a kickoff and doesn't make you proud of yourself. Because if your possessions disappear by chance, you will be left with nothing, correct? To avoid this, I believe that it is critical to create a life in which you can validate yourself in your beliefs and feelings." Mom's words were very convincing. My parents both work, and even though we were not poor, my mom was always saving money. When I asked her how she used her savings, I was surprised to learn that she donated it to charity. If she's going to donate money, why doesn't she buy more toys? That's what I thought at that time, but that was the truth of what she was saying. Now that I knew the true meaning of my mom's strictness with money, I respected her more and more. I aspired to be the type of person who could think like that, and I hope to be such a leader eventually. Even if Mom is gone one day, I want to be like her. Meanwhile, I want to continue learning from her.